Trench Talk Day 1 is here. Defensive line on Wednesday, offensive line on Thursday. Defensive line gets the first crack at interviews before the season opener in 10 days. Lettermen Row is here to talk about what we heard the defensive linemen talk about, Tim.
Yep.
What'd you learn from the defensive line, Tim?
I learned that TNT, you're dynamite.
Oh, wait, hold on. That's Tim May, the 41-year vet. You know him.
Yeah.
That's Andy Backstrom. I forgot to introduce them. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Tim, go ahead.
I had a good line there. I'm TNT, I'm dynamite. That goes for Tyleek and Ty, the two guys in the middle of this defensive line. I mean, these guys are mature, get after it dudes who want to basically put their, for want of another term, their brand on this defensive line this year. In the midst of the as veteran of defensive lines I've covered here in eons. But
Eons.
Yeah, Tyleek Williams and Ty Hamilton are ready to have a hell of a year.
Yeah, Tim, we will admit, though, Larry Johnson said he's not sure about the TNT nickname.
Correct. He likes Zone 6.
No, I think he likes Rushman.
I mean Rushman.
I think Brian Hartline likes Zone 6, and we like when Andy Backstrom tells us what he learned.
A lot of numbers
well,
in there.
JT Tuimoloau also wants to be part of that TNT.
Oh, yeah.
He says he has a T in his name, so he doesn't understand why he's not factored into that equation.
And what did I tell him? I said it could be JTTTJ.
Sure.
Jack Sawyer on the other end. So that's got some symmetry to it.
There you go.
The point is there's a lot of depth for this defensive line. Not only are they veteran, but there's just so many guys beneath those veterans. And I think, the thing that sticks out to me is with these defensive ends, you hear about the year 3 breakout for guys. Maybe it's the year 2 breakout for some of them like JT and Jack, but for year 3, that's when a lot of them blossom.
Yeah.
Well, for Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson, they need to wait another year. But they've still bought in and they've been helping each other along this process. And I asked Larry Johnson, do they look like ones right now? Because they should. And he said, yeah, we don't even do 1s and 2s. They got to be 1s. They have to be ready to go. And I think, not only the injury thing, that if one goes down, they need to be the ones to step up along with Mitchell Melton, but also with the way they want to rotate these guys, unlike last year where the 1s really did get the majority of reps. I mean, we saw games where Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau would play every snap or close to it. That's going to be different this year, not only for the defensive ends, but also the defensive tackles. It sounds like Larry Johnson wants to be 6 deep. It feels like they're 5 deep right now and waiting for that 6th guy to emerge. But the depth is going to be so important. You can pick your, poison for the rest of this team, of which is the deepest position group. But I think the defensive line has a good argument.
Isn't that amazing? But go ahead.
It's interesting to me because Larry Johnson said that they're 5 deep right now at defensive end. They want to be 6 deep. And I think the wheels started turning for everybody standing over there for Larry Johnson. It's like, okay, Edric Houston's 6, right? Edric Houston's got to be 6, right? And if he comes on, then he'll be the 6th. So you ask Larry Johnson, and then all of a sudden he says, well, it's either Edric Houston or Josh Mickens. And then he stopped himself, and he said, Josh Mickens has come out of nowhere and really flashed this in camp here. You know what? That to me tells me a lot. Larry Johnson has no reason whatsoever, if he didn't want to bring up Josh Mickens.
Yeah.
He's a guy who not that it matters anymore once you get in these walls, but a lower rated guy. All the buzz is about Edric Houston on the edge as a true freshman. But Larry put it out there. Josh Mickens is flashing. He surprised everybody this training camp. Not necessarily saying that oh, watch out, Josh Mickens is gonna be out there rushing the passer for Ohio State this fall. But just a note, they might lose 5 defensive ends after this year.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that Josh Mickens is flashing some tools that makes you think he's going to be good. I didn't think we were going to talk about Josh Mickens in minute 5 here, but it's worth mentioning because if they get to 6 deep, it doesn't have to be Edric Houston. But if Edric Houston also pushes, they could be 7 deep at the position.
If you didn't know that we were going to talk about Josh Mickens, why did you bring him up?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you're the one who brought him up, so clearly you had an agenda.
Okay.
What I tell you, but
this guy's on one this tonight.
Yeah. What stands out? Guys, there's nothing secret about football, man. You've got to be stout in the trenches. I'm not going to go through Football Basics 101. The depth of this defensive front has been accumulating for several years now.
Yeah.
And now it has come to fruition, unlike a lot of places around the country, Mark. Like I was talking when I was asking Larry Johnson about it. You don't get 4th-year guys, playing in the trenches anymore. If they're any good, they're gone.
They're gone or they're in the portal.
Exactly. So this is a moment in time for this entire football team, and this is a microcosm of what we're talking about. And when you consider Edric Houston and what he's looked, for example, the freshman who almost went to Alabama, but he's, who knows where what the truth was there. But the bottom line is, he ends up at Ohio State. You got all these guys coming back. All these people came back. They want to be a part of it, even though JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer came back. You've got a defensive end room that's about as stout as it's ever been from. I'm talking about quality, big-time type players.
Yeah.
Caden Curry, right on down the line. Kenyatta Jackson. It's about time, right, for him. Yet he has to wait his time one more time. So this is a moment in time, and I keep trying to enforce that with people, or reinforce that statement with people, because you're not going to see that this next year at this place probably. You understand what I'm saying? So take advantage of it.
There is a world where you might, because Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson could be the fourth-year starters.
I covered myself. I cast myself at the end of that bold statement.
And then there's another guy. There's another guy that everybody's talking about on the defensive interior, and that is Caden McDonald. It's not just the two T's. There's a K in there somewhere. I don't know.
There's another K. Kiro Canoe.
Yeah, we'll make Tim figure that one out. But
I just did.
Caden McDonald seems to be gaining a lot of steam right now. Jim Knowles keeps bringing him up. Larry Johnson's talking about he's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger, he understands what he's supposed to do more, he understands what it means to be in the defense. Like, everything about Caden McDonald is pointing to, like, hey, breakout season. Like, I don't know where he fits in other than just the rotation. He's a true nose tackle, I do know that. So you're not going to see him at 3-tech. He can't play both, which might be to his detriment as far as being the first guy on the field, whereas I think Kiro Canoe and Jason Moore can play both. When I think we're getting that from Larry. But, like, you need a disruptive nose tackle, I think Caden McDonald's your guy, Andy.
Well, anytime a guy pops out in summer, when they're a summer arrival, I think that kind of makes your head turn a little bit. Arvell Reese was the same way last year. Immediately gets on special teams. Caden McDonald, another guy that impresses right away in the summer, despite not being an early enrollee, and finds a way onto the field. And like back half of last season was actually getting some snaps. I think at the Purdue game, played double-digit snaps, was getting in late in the season, and even in that bowl game.
Fullback.
At fullback, right. And so, find a place for him on the field if they earn it, right? And that's what they do here. So I think he's someone that totally could have a breakout year. And unlike the defensive ends, where it feels like we have a pecking order of who's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, for the defensive tackles, beyond the first two, we don't really have a clear pecking order.
Yeah.
We have ideas, we have picks. I know you're really high on Jason Moore. We just talked about Caden McDonald, but who knows, Kiro Canoe, maybe he's the third guy up. Like, we don't really know, and I think that's what's so fascinating about defensive tackles. Last year, you knew it was going to be Ty Hamilton as the third guy after Tyler Williams and Mike Hall. Now I feel like we're going into game one not really knowing who's going to be that third guy. It's going to be fun to watch to see who kind of emerges those first couple weeks.
One thing, Tim, that kind of sticks out to me now that we're officially finished talking to the defensive linemen is, like, I know all the off-the-field stuff's going on right now. It's aside from the fact, Mike Hall was really good for Ohio State last year. And it doesn't even feel like he's missed at all. And I know if he was here and playing football for Ohio State, it would be a big deal. And they would love having him back. But, like, it is so crazy that, like, a program can lose a guy to the second round, defensive tackle, looked really good before he had a bunch of legal issues. And it just doesn't feel like they miss him at all because they've got so much talent in the trenches. Like, it kind of puts the exclamation point for me, Tim, on just how talented this defensive front is and how talented it can be, that they're not really missing a beat without him here.
Yeah, I mean, no one really got upset when he left because he had reasons he wanted to leave.
Yeah, sure.
Number one. But number two, that guy has as good a first step as almost anybody I've ever seen here.
Yeah.
They're going to miss that aspect of him, although I think Tyleik Williams has a good chance to be that guy. We've seen flashes from him over the years where he can just all of a sudden take over one or two plays in a game and change the game. So there's the guy I really expect to, blossom onto the national scene, although I think most people know about him.
Oh, yeah.
But I expect him to blossom onto the national scene this year because now he won't be being compared or won't be being shared. He'll be in there making something happen. And that's the guy I've really got my eye on to really emerge. Ty Hamilton is one of those guys who puts on his hard hat, packs his lunch pail, but then goes play football.
Yeah.
But he's got some flash to him too now. I mean, what stood out about him last year as the year went on, especially late, he was hardly ever out of position. He was hardly ever, and he made a lot of plays by standing his ground and or being where he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Which is so vital because you can get run off. You can get run off the field in the defensive tackle spots if you're not disciplined. That's the thing that JT Tuimoloau was talking about this afternoon is the word for him and all the rest of these guys is having that discipline to just play your spot. Don't let somebody knock you out of your spot, and the plays will come to you. That's kind of the motto for this group this year, because they've got the talent to make things happen.
It's a lot of dudes in here who were really highly rated, even Tyleek Williams, top 200 guy. You get 2 5-stars on the edge. Caden Curry, top 200. Kenyatta Jackson, top 50 overall player. Edric Houston was a 5-star. They do carry that kind of blue-collar mentality, though, Tim. I will agree with that.
But the big guys, you've always got to give them time, whether it's a year or 3 years, to mature physically and mentally about being in there where you're getting beat up or you're beating on somebody literally every play. That's not for the faint of heart or the timid or the guy who was dominating in high school because the guy in front of him blocking him was a 205-pound guard or center.
Yeah.
It's the big boys game, the big men's game, really, when you get down into the trenches. And Ohio State has got a mature defensive front four to battle in there this year.
I think Urban Meyer used to say it, and Larry Johnson obviously said it too. The closer you are to the football at Ohio State, the harder it is to get on the field.
Yeah.
I think that's just common knowledge for football
Unless
in general.
there's an emergency.
There is one thing we got to talk about other than defensive line, because we just got the notification on my phone right before the video started that Leroy Roker lost his black stripe tonight. Andy, this is a guy who almost unranked by like everybody, way under the radar. 2 offers coming out of high school, Iowa and Ohio State. He picks Ohio State over Iowa. Iowa produces really good safeties. So does Ohio State. Then Matt Guerrieri brings him up last night as a guy who's starting to flash, and then all of a sudden he loses his black stripe today. Is this somebody that we should pay attention to, Andy?
Well, summer arrival as well, right?
Yeah, it's kind of
so
crazy.
Another guy who's stepping up, coming in late, and I think that's really hard to do nowadays, not just at this program, but across the country. Pretty much everyone comes in early. They graduate early to get in here. So that's impressive in its own right. I think he had a pick in practice the other day. I think Lathan Ransom brought that up yesterday, talking to him. So definitely something to keep your eye on. And also shout out to the safety room that seemingly is exceeding expectations despite the rankings. Jalen McClain, 3-star guy, automatically makes an impression right from the jump. And he's going to be a special teamer, guaranteed. And then also could play some safety, meaningful snaps this year, depending on what they want to do with that rotation, and if an injury happens, of course. So that safety room, a little bit of a hat to Perry Eliano with some of the recruiting, but also
evaluations.
With the evaluation of that, and got to give some flowers there. I know he's not here anymore, but also credit to Matt Guerrieri in the development of Jalen McClain so quickly, as well as Leroy Roker. So I think
A.J. Hawk was a 3-star. James Laurinaitis was a 3-star.
That room came together.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying the rankings are sometimes really wrong.
But it's important to note where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
And kind of give credit where credit's due.
And I think especially because, and this is a topic for another time, but just real quick, the rankings have come so far that they're right so much more often now than they were in 2005, where whatever year that was, where when you see a guy who's unranked by Charles Power and the guys on 3, or even the other services that all of them I think are pretty good at figuring out who's good and who's not. Leroy Roker comes in and immediately starts to flash at a place like this. It's even they can miss every now and then. And that's not saying he's going to be a superstar. It's not saying he's going to be a draft pick. It's not saying he's going to ever play here. I just think it's interesting that in a room where we have questions about the depth, Jim Knowles brings up the depth concerns, you're starting to see some signs of life from that depth that maybe they're going to be all right.
The next day, right?
Yeah.
Or 2 days later. So very interesting how that works. Actually, he said that before the scrimmage last week. But give guys time, man. That's what it takes sometimes. This is not going to be the perfect football team. No one's ever going to have a roster that is totally complete where there are no question marks from a depth standpoint somewhere.
Yeah.
But this is about as close as you're going to get.
Yeah, I didn't expect to talk again. I didn't expect to talk safeties tonight, but that notification comes on the phone. You got to bring them up. Give Leroy Roker some flowers. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
You had your phone on buzz, did you?
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you like the video below. Subscribe to the Lettermen Row YouTube channel. We'd love to have you over there. Tim May, 41-year vet. Andy Backstrom. Me, Spencer Holbrook. We're chugging along here. The end of camp is near. The beginning of the season is not as near, but still near. We will be over in the Horseshoe in just 10 days. We cannot wait to get there. We can't wait to bring you along with us through video. Come hang out in the Letterman Lounge, on the message board. Go to lettermenrow.com, get all of Tim's coverage, all of Andy's coverage, all of my coverage as well. That'll do it for us in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. We'll see you guys in here tomorrow night where we talk to Ryan Day, an offensive lineman. I think you're going to want to hear that conversation. We talked to the offensive lineman and Justin Fry, their head coach of the offensive line, and then the head coach, Ryan Day. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. We'll see you over at lettermenrow.com.
cut